Hi there, good evening and welcome to this edition of News Tonight with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. We're coming to you live from the Platinum Place in Accra, streaming across the world via X. Let's take a look at our top stories. Coming up tonight, President Mahama returns from China after state visit as the MDC government secures fresh support to boost Ghana's reset agenda. Also, Alan Tremontin's Movement for Change officially rebrands as United Party, marking a new political chapter ahead of the 2028 elections.
No way. When you divorce in Islam, when you divorce a woman 3 times, she's no longer your wife till thy kingdom come.
Also in the bulletin, chairman of MPP Presidential Elections Committee warns flag bearer hopefuls to mind their words during campaign activities ahead of the party's presidential primaries in 107 days.
Every one of them, stay on focus. Why you should be the choice. Leave the voters with the information that will make them prefer you to the other.
Later in business, Governor of the Bank of Ghana expresses confidence in Ghana's ability to exit the IMF program by 2026. Tonight we'll cross over live to Washington, D.C., engage with Emmanuel Ejabing of EIB's business desk for more. Elsewhere, 4th year dead after Kenyan police fire shots at crowd gathered to see body of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. I've got and many other stories. Please be my guest. This is News Tonight, and President John Dramani Mahama has returned from a state visit to China, where he attended the World Women's Forum in Beijing and held bilateral talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping aimed at deepening Ghana's China relations and enhancing economic cooperation. He was welcomed by Vice President Professor Nana Jinopuku-Agyeman and Chief of Staff Julius Debra at the Jubilee Lounge at the Kotoka International Airport. During his discussions in China, President Xi confirmed an additional grant of 200 million RMB to Ghana, bringing China's total grant support to 400 million RMB. The funds will be directed towards the construction of the proposed Aflao market and the renovation of the National Theatre in Accra. According to President Mahama, the Aflao market will serve as a key trading hub linking Ghana and Togo and will play a crucial role in his government's resetting Ghana agenda. Both leaders also explored progress on the zero tariff policy, which Ghana expects to finalize with China by the end of October to boost trade and exports. On the extractive industry, discussions focused on responsible and licensed small-scale mining, with both sides agreeing to strengthen collaboration in the sector. Meanwhile, President Mahama disclosed that China expressed strong interest in Ghana's 24-hour economy initiative and green transition policy, signaling readiness to partner with the government and private sector in those areas. He reaffirmed Ghana's commitment to the One China policy and pledged continued collaboration with Beijing in efforts towards building a new global system of governance. Let's do some other stories now. Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, has vowed Ghana will implement decisions and resolutions that will be made at the forthcoming 2025 Association for the Development of Education in Africa. That's the ADEA conference. The conference, to be hosted by Ghana and Accra on October 29, 2025, aims to shape the future of education in Africa and improve education and learning outcomes. High-powered delegations from across the continent are expected to be in attendance. Speaking during a meeting with organizers of the event at his ministry, Haruna Idrisu stated this edition of the triennial program will focus on improving learning outcomes, using technology, and promoting technical and higher education across the continent.
We, on our part in Ghana, will do everything possible to make it a success and impactful, including the resolutions that may be passed and the decisions that may be taken. So mine is to say a warm welcome to Albert on behalf of my colleagues and on your behalf, and to assure him that Ghana is home, so feel at home away from home. Enjoy the Ghanaian hospitality. But for me, what is heartwarming is his presence in Accra 2 weeks before even the event with his team, as he indicated, administration, IT, logistics. They will work with Technical Director Professor Ojo, who himself an expert in education, to guide how the events are tailored in order that we can reach consensus that makes education the bedrock to the future development of Africa and the sustainable development of Ghana and Africa.
Meanwhile, the Executive Secretary for ADA, Albert Insengiyumva, urged Ghana to explore new ways to fund education, as international aid for the sector continues to decline.
Number of countries that used to support education in Africa are cutting their aid. You saw what happened with the United States, just shutting down USAID. That was one of the biggest supporter of education globally, in Africa in particular. Number of European countries are cutting their budgets for aid. That's why we feel we need to take this education seriously and look at alternative ways of supporting and investing in education, using our own means or looking at alternative instruments to support education, because financing is going to be so critical. And it is not just about the volume of finance, it's the way we use resources. We need to be effective. So this is one of the key issues that will be discussed. As you know, Ghana is one of the key members of the Global Partnership for Education. And they are having their replenishment next year. And I remember that Ghana has always been focusing on supporting education, not only in Ghana, globally. So GPE is very much involved, like many other organizations, coming to reflect on the current context and discuss how best we can sustain and mobilize resources within the continent.
Let's do some politics now. And founding leader of the newly formed United Party from the Movement for Change, GHOne says the transition signals a fresh start and pays tribute to a name of historical significance in Ghanaian politics, outlining the party's Vision 2040, known as the Paradise Project. The former Trades Minister in the Akufo-Addo government explained that the UP aims to make Ghana the economic powerhouse of Africa within 15 years. Speaking at the unveiling of the United Party, Alan Tremanting stressed the vision is anchored on his great transformational plan, which focuses on industrialization, private sector growth, youth employment, debt reduction, and good governance.
The great transformational plan, which we developed under the Movement for Change, and which has been widely acknowledged all over the world. All over the world. If you get the chance to read the GTP, you make sure that the United Party becomes the next government in Ghana. If you look at the GTP, it is not just a question of forming a new party, but the policy initiatives that we have espoused are relevant today and will be relevant tomorrow. Stabilizing the macroeconomy is very important. And when we talk about stabilizing the market, macroeconomy. We are also looking at reducing our debt levels. People don't realize that we have not even started paying our debt. 2026 to 2028, that is when the debt burden will start showing. On industrial development, we will prioritize the development of the 10 strategic anchor industries that we have listed in the GTP, and with the vision that Africa, by 2040, that Ghana will become the new manufacturing hub for Africa.
Let's head to Parliament now. The minority is demanding a bipartisan inquiry into what it describes as a shady proposed Telecel takeover of AT, formerly Airtel Tigo. The NPP MPs on the Information and Communication Committee have accused the Communications Minister, Sam George, of rejecting a $150 million investment bid from Rectron Afritel in favor of what they describe as a less transparent and questionable merger deal. A member of the committee, Dr. Abdul Kabir Tia Mahama, believes the minister's handling of the transaction was marked by secrecy, inconsistencies, and conflict of interest. He joins me in studio for more on this. Now, it's been 24 hours since the minority alerted the nation on what you believe to be a rather shady deal. We were hoping here to get a response from the Communications Ministry. Have you, as a committee, received any correspondence on this matter?
Yeah, so good evening to you, Bernice, and then good evening to your cherished viewers. Unfortunately, the minister responsible for communication has neither responded publicly or privately to the press conference addressed by members of the minority caucus. We've only had some issue of a press statement by Telecel stating their part of this whole transaction. So that's the status quo. We still believe that the minister should be able to come back within the next 24 hours. Otherwise, that will show the level of respect he accords the people of Ghana. That will demonstrate his commitment to serving the people of Ghana. Because the moment he decides not to do what the people of Ghana expects of him, basically is on a frolic of his own. Our belief is that the minister should, he must, he owes the people of Ghana the responsibility of responding to the issues raised.
Have you seen the fine print of this proposed takeover by Telecel?
Unfortunately, the Telecel statement and the minister's own statement suggest that there's no fine print. He's just deciding to give them Telecel before they can even sit down to negotiate.
To give them 80?
80, before they can even sit down to negotiate the terms of the takeover.
Aren't you putting the cart before the horse? We know that such a deal may likely come before the House. The House, the resumption of the House was postponed. We are yet to convene. Don't you think that you should have given the minister some time? You could have even, called him before the House to give some explanation to this.
We've given the minister 6 months. I'm sure these discussions were ongoing before even Parliament went on recess. And you understand that we're a very reasonable minority. We're a very reasonable opposition. 6 months is more than enough for the minister to have come. Recton announced their engagement with the minister, and the minister also announced an MOU signed with Recton Afritel far back in June. The minority didn't talk. He never came to the Parliament. He never came to members of the minority and even updated us on what is happening. So 6 months is more than enough. And that if the discussion is inconsistent, if the minister says one thing and the following day he says another, we have every reason to then come and seek answers from the public.
In the simplest of ways, how do you explain why you think that Telecel taking over AT is a worse off deal than what Rectron Afritel was offering?
Simple terms. I have a company. The company lacks finances, and the only thing that it needs is that they need money in order to improve on their systems and operations. I, the owner of the company, do not have money. And someone looking at the company thinking that it's viable, and it comes to you, it approaches you. That person says, I'm going to give you 150 million. and I'm going to put my 150 million in the company with the expectation that it's going to be turnover and I'll get my dividend. You say you don't want that. You go and then give the company to another rival company, which it is competing with, to say that, well, my company is in distress, I'm going to give it to you, and then you are going to manage it. Put their customers together with your customers. That's simply what the minister has done.
All right. So there are those who also say AT is wholly owned by Ghana. We have shares in Telecel, don't we? We do, right?
We do.
So what's the big deal here? It's a win-win for us as Ghanaians, isn't it?
It's not a win-win. First and foremost, the reason why government took 100% shareholding in AT was because of three main things. One, to protect the jobs of AT, Airtel Tigo. Two, to ensure that Ghana has control over such a strategic national asset. For instance, during the high sea under cable, fiber optic cable under cartel, Airtel Tigo was the only company that was functional. The country went black. So there's the need for government to protect it. Two, government signed a project with the World Bank, about 50 million.
But wait, why do you think a measure with Telecel is not protecting
it? It is not protecting because even in whole this discussion, they have talked about the 300 direct employees. There are about 200 contract staff. There are over 10,000 indirect employees.
But if you've not seen the fine details, why do you think this will result in a loss of jobs? We don't know what the blueprint for this measure looks like.
In the first place, if you are having a discussion on something and there are jobs involved and there's nothing you're talking about the protection of jobs, basically it's a bad deal. Two, if you look at the two alternatives, one is giving you 150, another one has gone to announce that I'm going to invest 50 million in it. Basically, you can tell that it's a bad deal because the money required for that turnover is more, it's not even 150. Minister's own statement said they need 600 million. And Afritel said, I'm going to give 1 billion in 5 years. And these people are saying, I'm only going to invest 50 million. Basically, it is bad. You don't need rocket science to tell you that.
So it's all about the money for you and not the other components that come with the deal.
What other component?
Because we haven't seen the fine
There is no other fine detail except what the minister has announced. The minister has equally announced that they are not even engaging. Why will you give a company to someone and say you are not even engaging KPMG to do the discussion as to whether the best form? And the minister explains that the acquisition or the consolidation was a result of force majeure. And even Telecel in their presence stated that they were only helping. I'm happy that they responded that they were only helping 80. Why are they helping them? Because they are putting them, their customers, the 3 million customers are roaming on the site of Telecel.
Right.
And I think that roaming is normal. Even 8 Telecel rooms on MTN. Because MTN also roams on, roaming on people's side is normal and it's part of the industry.
So we are yet to hear from the minister. What is the big plan for the minority?
Well, so we hope to hear from the minister. The Telecel has given a statement. The statement has left more questions than answers, and we will be following the statement by the Telecel. We'll engage them more, and if they want to answer those questions, they will have to come and answer. We will not leave it at that. That we are waiting for the response of the minister. If the minister's response is satisfactory, we leave it at that. If his response is not satisfactory, then we'll continue with the advocacy. Our rule is to make sure that the Ghanaian people are not shortchanged, and the action of the minister clearly demonstrates that they are in a hurry to make sure that they dispose of a huge national asset to fill private pocket, and who shall not accept that?
Right. So we'll be expecting a response from the ministry. Hopefully, we, the media, will be able to get some access because we've been trying to get a response since the minority released a statement or organized a press conference on this matter. Thank you so much, Doc. But before you go, though, Movement for Change has now become a party, United Party. Your quick thought in 30 seconds.
First and foremost, I think that Movement for Change, the name chosen is problematic because the tradition of the MPP is out of the United Party. They try to hide under the fact that Unity Party. I'm sure fair-minded Ghanaians and members of the Unity Party will first even test it in court to find out whether that name.
You're going to court over this?
Of course, it is a very good case to test to see whether that name will even stand. I thought that the Mr. Lansah would have been much more thoughtful, and then chairman, together with the people who form the party, would have been much more thoughtful in the name they would choose.
Why have you patented United Party?
United Party is registered. It's a name registered as a recognized political party, even though it's defunct. which were consolidated to form, I mean, the offshoot of all this is the New Patriotic Party.
Right.
So you don't go to choose such a name.
Thank you for your thoughts. And if you know Doc very well, you know that he worked closely with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and they're gearing for that heated presidential primaries coming up in January next year. That's for Insight. You want to stay with me for that conversation.
Is your tech holding you back?
Thank you for staying on News Tonight with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. On Inside Tonight, we've got details from the chairman of the MPP's Presidential Elections Committee. Do wait for that. of the Presidential Elections Committee of the opposition NPP, Joseph Osei-Owusu, has cautioned aspirants against the use of intemperate language during campaigns. Campaigning for the January 31, 2026 exercise has reached fever pitch, with aspirants and their supporters taking a dig at one another. Speaking to GHOne in Star News, Ms. Osei-Owusu charged the aspirants to stay focused on their messages and move away from personal attacks.
It's been consistent. Our policy position is, at the end of it, every contestant, every voter must be satisfied that the results are the reflection of their votes, nothing more. And so we have opted to assure the general public and our party that we insist on transparency and fairness, and that the result that will be announced will be a true reflection of their choice, nothing. As much as possible, I want to stay the independent part. If I venture into commenting on who has said what, the likelihood that I'll be accused of favoring A or B or overlooking C instead of it is likely to affect the integrity of my committee. I played with every one of them. Stay on focus. Why you should be the choice. Leave the candidates with the information that the voters with the information that will make them prefer you to the other. I think that's all that matters.
Well, still on this, but let's head to Parliament. Minority Leader Kwame Afenyo-Marking has admonished minority MPs to look beyond the New Patriotic Party's January 31, 2026 presidential primaries as the campaign among 5 aspirants to lead the party into the 2028 general elections heats up. The Afuto MP insists that the conduct of his members during the internal contest must reflect the party's values as it aims to wrestle power from the NDC in the 2028 elections.
We have internal elections ahead. There's a more reason why we must stay together, be measured in our language and our utterances, and look at life after 31st January 2026. How we can come together in spite of the competition and work as one united NPP. Our charge then is to carry our duties with a spirit of optimism and determination. We have to be robust in our oversight and demand transparency and accountability from the government. It doesn't matter our numbers. The GHOne led minority in 1997, although 61, made an impact. With our 87, we can make an impact and come back to party power with majority in 2028. We have to be robust in our oversight and demand transparency and accountability from the government. It doesn't matter our numbers. The GHOne led minority in 1997, although 61, made an impact. With our 87, we can make an impact and come back to party power with majority in 2028.
Mr. Afenyo-Marking is also of the strong belief that the NPP will snatch 50 seats from the governing NDC in the next general elections. That is if the party stays united ahead of the 2028 polls. Addressing committee leaders in the minority at a workshop, he juxtaposed how the NDC was able to overturn its 2016 parliamentary deficit in 2020, where it won 137 seats, arguing the NPP can do same.
Our friends did it. We had 169. Within 4 years, they managed to reduce our majority to 137. So within 4 years, they managed to snatch over 32 seats from us. We can make about 50 seats. Looking at the data, a lot of the seats we lost with less than 1,000 votes. So we can make it. We should remind the nation that even as we point out what is going wrong, we will never lose sight of what can be made right. We should offer the people a vision of governance that is honest and compassionate. A vision that can choose in the future, that one can choose in the future. By our conduct, let us show every Ghanaian watching that politics can be honorable calling of service, that parliament can be a place of dignity and courage. And colleagues, our disagreement even within us, however intense it may be, are necessary bona fides to help the cause of democracy, and we must take it in good faith.
This is News Tonight, and on Insight Tonight, we're focusing on the MPP's upcoming presidential primaries in January 2026, and also concerns about how elders in the party are seemingly quiet about attacks that are happening in different camps. An MP for Nshia and former Deputy Finance Minister Dr. Stephen Amoah is asking questions. He's wondering where elders in the MPP are in the wake of what he terms as visible threats to the party's chance of returning to power in 2028. According to him, the rank and file of the party are feverishly seeking to protect the personal interest instead of the party's. The warning from the MP comes ahead of the January 31, 2026 presidential primaries, which has seen aspirants take a dig at one another, accusations and counter-accusations all over the place, including social media. Speaking to parliamentary correspondent on the sidelines of a workshop for the Minority Caucus, Dr. Amoah charged the party's elders to rise and speak up to save the party or live to regret the silence.
As a fraternity, we need to stop pretending, and we need to stop, interfering with, when it comes to equitability or equality or decision making, it's a meritocracy, and respecting the individuals' potentials and abilities and capabilities, and work as a team. That collectivism, if we fail to work together and realize and respect that teamwork, that this person can do this thing best, I can also do. How do we put together? We can easily beat NDC. NDC beats us most of the time because of misinformation, because they have superior operations edge over us, because they make sure that if you can do this, they allow you to do it. But this is not the case in our party. And let's be very honest. This is not the case in our party. If we won't be honest enough to address these fundamentals, we should forget. I'm being honest with you. Where are the elders in this party today? Who is listening to? Nobody can speak because other people think they have interest. And without their interest being...
I've been joined by Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otori. He is a political analyst for a quick conversation on what's happening within the MPP even as they prepare for the presidential primaries in January 2026. I'm grateful for your time, Doc. And some have argued that every party, after losing an election, the magnitude the MPP did, will likely suffer what we are seeing. There are others who say these are cracks that existed prior to the 2024 elections, only being let out because the party finds itself in a transition period. Where do you stand in this matter?
Thank you, Bernice. Let me say good evening to your viewers, and sorry for not joining earlier enough. The point is that, okay, of course, I had other engagement. I think that when they say that the MPP suffered the most humiliating defeat in the 2024 elections, based upon 2 or 3 factors. The first one is the outgoing President Abu-Baidoo. He contributed not less than 60% according to data that has. Now, the other thing too is obviously the credibility of the then Vice President who became the flag bearer of the party. Of course, everybody will believe that before the 2016 elections, he had the highest credibility within the party. And that is what won them the elections in 2016. And of course, they were given a second chance in 2020. But if you look at what transpired in terms of results within the 2020 elections, that should have informed them that there is something wrong somewhere. And I believe that the party structures allowed President Akufo-Addo an autonomy that was unfettered. And that is the reason why they find themselves where they find themselves. And it is going to take a little while before they realize that, look, they will have to, put in place is the very structures that brought the party together, the very structures that let President Akufo-Addo emerge as a leader of the party, and the very structures that in itself ensured that even those who had disgruntled, they found some kind of solution within the party to stay within the party. As long as you have other people going out of the party, as out of the party, then that definitely the party is going to be in some form of quagmire, and that is exactly what we are facing. Now, the idea, when I said at the end of 2024 elections, on TV3, I said that going forward, the main problem, the main dilemma of NPP would be Dr. Bawumia, because they wouldn't know whether to keep him or sidestep him. Now, to sidestep him in itself will have different consequences. To keep him there in itself will have different consequences, especially when you are talking about the magnitude of the loss. That in itself is something that...
Hello, Doc. We seem to have lost Doc there, and that's Dr. Jonathan Asari there, who was Jonathan Asante, I beg your pardon, who was just helping us understand from his perspective what brought the NPP to this point and how they could emerge from what's happening. We seem to be having a struggle with his line there. Hopefully we'll be able to reach him to also get his thoughts on the Nhyasa MP's concerns about what the elders in the party are doing. And if you remember, right before the elections, there was this conversation about the elders in the party and whether they were being recognized at all. Remember that former President Kufuor had similar concerns shared about his input in the party's activities and his role as an elder within the party. While we wait to reconnect to Dr. Jonathan Asante Otri, the Nhyasa MP, Stephen Amwa, has also weighed in on the ongoing feud between some MPs in the Ashanti region and a leading member of the NPP, Gabi Asare Otri. Dr. Amwa affirmed that some MPs in the region opted for community roads during President Akufo-Addo's first term. He, however, clarified that during the second term, demands were also made for interchanges based on demands from residents.
I think the first term of Nana Addo's government, a lot of us and people were talking about community roads. Not that they didn't want interchanges, because people were like, oh, our community, people are complaining. This is a fact. Nobody can deny that fact. But when we get to the second phase, then most of the community dwellers started complaining about the fact that, oh, Accra, Greater Accra has gotten about 5 interchanges, Tamale, and Ashanti region with the strong hadn't gotten it. So that pressure came on us. And also put the pressure on the government. But that time, Ghana's economy was not good enough to support that decision. Let's be honest. So those who are saying, oh, there was never a meeting, this, I don't know what they are talking about. But there was that push. I want to be very honest with you and with the God I serve. But then, I also want to understand whether Gabi Achidako meant that we said we didn't want interchange. Then Gabi would have been wrong. So I think there was a miscommunication. But the fact still remains that most of us were pushing for area roads and community roads. Honestly, first term. And the second term, we were pushing so strongly, collectively, for interchanges. Because prospective voters or potential voters were pushing for that, comparing Kumasi to Greater Accra and even Tamale. And that time our economy was not good enough. Remember, we were running highly impaired productivity or productive economy or whatever it is. You knew we were just struggling to restore our economy. I mean, try to restore and consolidate our fiscal space, and our spending, we're having high debt to GDP as a result of this global crisis. So exactly. So when things were getting better, then Nana Addo's government decided to push so hard into getting us the interchanges. Then we even started somewhere around Swame, Bremai, close to the roundabout there. Then we lost power. So I think that statement has to be contextualized. I mean, in a way that stakeholders' interest and understanding will be harmonized. So they are not wrong. I think Gabi is not wrong. But I don't know the context, how Gabi put that statement and how other people also understood it. In any case, we are not in power. What do we do to come to power?
That's the question.
We need to also change our mindset.
And that will be it for Insight Tonight. With me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. We've got business news shortly. Do stay.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
And in business news tonight, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, has expressed confidence in Ghana's ability to exit the IMF program by 2026. Speaking on Ghana's progress toward macroeconomic stability at the ongoing IMF annual meetings in Washington, D.C., Dr. Isiama reflected on how debt restructuring impacted the country's economic prospects and why such a situation should never recur. He also spoke about how the central bank is working to avert future crises. My colleague Emmanuel reports from Washington, D.C.
COVID economic crisis plunged Ghana into severe distress, prompting the government to seek support through the IMF's $3 billion extended credit facility. As the program nears completion, Governor of the Central Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, says the worst is over and that Ghana is firmly on the path towards recovery and stability.
I'm happy to say that 8 months down the road, we have turned the corner. Ghana is back. Inflation, we met it at nearly 24%. Currently, it's down to 9.4%. We have seen a strong rebound in growth. We are running ahead of program targets for the year on almost everything. You name it, inflation, reserves build-up, economic growth. We are running ahead, and we are happy to announce that we will be able to exit the fund program come next year.
He recounted how wicked adherence to the Bank of Ghana's independence disrupted its balance sheets and warned that domestic debt restructuring must not happen again.
The kind of experience we have had has been significant. It should never happen again. When I cast my mind back in 2022, it's something we could have avoided. I'm at a loss as to how we allowed that to happen. But going forward, we are trying to build back better. Over the past 8 months, we've had to make changes to the legislation. Legislation to strengthen our independence. For example, when it comes to exposures to government or central bank financing, we are taking all that out.
Looking ahead, Dr. Johnson Isiama says the BOG is well positioned to manage emerging challenges and implement key recommendations to ensure stability beyond the IMF program.
The next thing is to have a central bank that is agile, a central bank that is ready and able to contend with the new challenges that most central banks face. What I want to see is a central bank that is ready and able to adapt.
A tighter monetary policy stance, responsible governance, and adaptive policies remain central to the Bank of Ghana's long-term strategy towards economic recovery. For GHOne News and Star FM, Emmanuel Ejabin, Washington, D.C.
Emmanuel Ejabin joins us from Washington, D.C. for more on this. Emmanuel, so, we've heard from the minister he's not as candid as some want at this time. Is it the case that he's staying safe, not wanting to make any exact promises? What more are we gleaning from what he said?
Well, clearly from what the Bank of Ghana governor said, Dr. Johnson Isiama, he believes largely that the economy that he met when he came to office earlier this year, he says that over the past 8 months, they have managed to turn. Perhaps not the exact words people want to hear, but he is exactly confident that will come May 2026. He believes largely that the situation that the Bank of Ghana was put in, especially during the debt restructuring, that led to a loss and impairment of its assets and even disrupted the balance sheet of the Bank of Ghana. He says that they are putting in place tight regulations to make sure that that situation does not happen again. And so, not exact words we want to hear, but he is expressing that optimism that Ghana will be able to exit the program come May 2026.
And Ejabin, we know that the IMF has been lauding the John Mahama-led administration for the economic recovery. Have we also heard any emphatic statements being made from the IMF side about Ghana's readiness to exit the program in terms of the structures being put in place and all the fiscal discipline that they expect to see?
Well, earlier today, the head of the Africa department here at the International Monetary Fund, Abu-Baidoo, engaged us. And my question to him was around fiscal discipline. Oftentimes, when the IMF is in town, the hand of discipline is there. Once they exit, we have seen our country spend 40 out of 63 years under an IMF-backed program. And so I looked at the data from the beginning of the year to September 2025. Largely as a country, we have underspent. The target was 151 billion. We spent 131. And so the question I posed to Selassie was, is this what you want to see by way of fiscal discipline? Well, his recommendation was that, yes, I am happy. He says that the fund is excited and happy with the progress Ghana has made when it comes to fiscal discipline. But what they want to see is that managed kind of expenditure where we are spending less than actually planned. They want to see it in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. And that's when they will confidently say that, yes, we have truly turned the corner. But for now, they are happy with the progress that Ghana has made.
Emmanuel, we'll leave it here for now. That's Emmanuel Ejabin joining us from Washington, D.C., attending the IMF meetings there. He will be furnishing us with more details, so do stay with us in subsequent bulletins. It's now time for sports news updates, and Benjamin Yamwa has all the details.
SE, in conjunction with EIB Network, has officially launched this edition of the SAC Super Volleyball Championship. The event broadcast live on GHOne to be brought together key stakeholders in sports and the media to promote volleyball and encourage participation across the country.
The year at the launch was filled with excitement as Kratos SE officially unveiled the 2025 Super Volleyball Championship, scheduled for November 16th to 23rd. At the launch, the CEO of Kratos SE, Mohamed Aputiog, says this year's Super Volleyball Championship will feature teams from Nigeria, Benin, and Burkina Faso, making it a truly West African competition.
They will compete not only for cash prizes, medals, and national prestige, but also for regional bragging rights, as we proudly welcome teams from Nigeria, Benin, and Burkina Faso. And I say this, SVC 2025 is not just Ghana's tournament, it is now a truly West Africa affair. But before the action begins on the court, we will energize the community through a lineup of exciting pre-events. Let me assure you that the SAC Super Volleyball Championship 2025 will deliver more than just matches. It will deliver moments, memories, and momentum for our sport. With your support, we are not just organizing another tournament. We are building a movement, forging a partnership, and we are leaving behind a legacy.
EIB Network CEO Bolare described this year's Super Volleyball Championship as more than just a tournament, calling it a celebration of dreams and determination.
For 2025, the Super Volleyball Championship is not just another tournament. It's a celebration of dreams. If you ask me, it's about dreams, discipline, and determination. And here at EIB, and through our sports brand, EIB Sports, we have a mission. Our mission has always been clear: to shine the light on every corner of Ghanaian sports, especially those disciplines that are least funded, yet filled with incredible talent and heart. And I dare say volleyball is one of those beautiful stories.
Madame Wilhelmina Asamoah, Chief Director of the Ministry for Sports and Recreation, says this year's tournament will serve as a powerful tool to engage the youth, inspire excellence on and off the court.
Beyond the competition, this championship aims to elevate volleyball to a premier sport, create career opportunities for players, coaches, and referees, and strengthen regional ties through cross-border participation. Ladies and gentlemen, the impact of the Super Volleyball Championship extends far beyond the game. It serves as a powerful tool to engage our youth, inspire excellence on and off the court, and nurture character, teamwork, and leadership among Ghanaians, and developing the next generation of champions.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Youth and Sports, Ernest Nogbe, delivered the keynote address.
Institutionalization of the Super Volleyball Championship as an annual event since the year 2021 is a commendable accomplishment that has aided the development of volleyball from the grassroots to the West African stage. I therefore commend the instrumentality of Kratos SE and the Ghana Volleyball Federation in birthing this vision some 4 years ago, which will culminate in top-performing clubs from Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and Burkina Faso participating in this year's volleyball championship, slated from 16th to 23rd November 2025.
The 2025 Super Volleyball Championship is expected to bring together top players from Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, and Burkina Faso. Organizers believe the championship will elevate Ghana's profile in West African volleyball while inspiring the next generation of players.
That's it for sports. Up next, international news.
And on the international front, huge crowds of mourners in Kenya fled screaming after police fired gunshots and tear gas in a stadium where they had gathered to see the body of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. There are unconfirmed reports that 4 people were killed in the chaos as security officers sought to disperse the surging crowds. It's not yet clear whether the police used live ammunition or rubber bullets in the arena, which is located in the capital, Nairobi. Odinga's body was flown back from India, where he died on Wednesday morning, with thousands of people waiting at the airport. The public viewing finally began in the evening after the chaos in the stadium had subsided. The throngs of people at the country's main airport forced the authorities to briefly suspend flights. The authorities said mourners had gained access to restricted areas, prompting a precautionary closure that lasted about 2 hours. From the airport, thousands of people moved in a procession to escort the vehicle carrying the body to the stadium that's about 6 miles from the city center. Because of the unexpectedly large crowds, the public viewing ceremony for Odinga's body was moved to Nairobi's Moi International Sports Center in the Kasarani neighborhood rather than inside the Parliament building where it was initially scheduled to take place. And that's how we end this edition of News Tonight with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. I'm grateful for your company. There's more news, however, when you log on to starfm.com.gh. You can also follow us on social media for the latest news updates. We are GHOne Television. I've been produced by Hanan Abdul Hanan. And we wish you the very best of the evening. Take care.